Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about volume today. Volume is filling up a three-dimensional object with units that are cubed. The object is no longer flat with the two dimensions of length and width, but it now has a third dimension of height. And that's any three-dimensional object that we see in today's world. Okay? So we're going to talk about the cylinder and the cone together, because the cylinder and the cone have a very, very similar formula. So the volume of this three-dimensional object is taking the area of this circle, which is the pi r squared, and then just multiplying it by the height. And the reason for that is it's like taking these circles and just stacking a whole bunch of circles up the length of the height. So you just multiply the area of the circle times the height. So it's just the area of the circle times the height. If you take a look at the cone, because the cone goes up to 1 point, it's basically, it was a cylinder, except now it's only going towards 1 point, so there's a part of that cylinder that was taken away. So what's left is just 1/3 of your cylinder. So it's just 1/3 pi r squared times the height. So these are the same formulas, except the cone is 1/3 of it, okay? So it's easier to remember that way. So in our example down below, if the radius is 8 inches and the height is 12 inches, then the volume of my cylinder is going to be pi 8 squared times 12. And 8 times 8 is 64, times 12 gives you 768 pi inches cubed, because it's three dimensions, right? Now, if we take a look at the cone, it's the same thing, except it's 1/3 of that total. So it's 1/3 our pi r squared times h, which is 768 divided by 3 pi inches cubed, which ends up being 256 pi inches cubed. So when you have the same radius and height for your cylinder and cone, the cone is just 1/3 of what the cylinder was. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so that's how we use the formula for cylinder and cone. Now, if we talk about a rectangular prism and a pyramid, let's talk about those the same time. Now, the rectangular prism has a volume of length times width times the height. A pyramid, again, it is a rectangular, it's a rectangle at the bottom. This could be a square or a rectangle, because a square is a rectangle. A rectangle at the bottom, which is length times width for its area. Well, if you multiply it by the height, this only goes to 1 point. So again, it has how much of the rectangular prism taken away. There's that much missing, so there's only 1/3 left of what it would have been if it was a rectangular prism. So it's just 1/3 the length times the width times the height. So if our length, width, and height of the rectangular prism is 10 meters, the width is 4 meters, and the height is 5 meters, the volume is going to be 10 times 4 times 5, which is 200 meters cubed. For the pyramid, your volume is just going to be 1/3 that, which is 1/3 200, which is going to be 66 2/3 meters cubed. Okay? So that's the way the formulas for the rectangular prism and the pyramid work. Now let's take a look at the sphere. The sphere is all by itself. It's just 4/3 pi r cubed. So if r is 6, the volume is going to be 4/3 pi 6 cubed, which is 4/3 times pi times 70 times 216. But because we are multiplying, we can divide the 3 and the 72. We can simplify and make this one 1 and that 72 to make life easier for us when we multiply. And 72 times 4 is 288 pi centimeters cubed. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, good jobby.